Good afternoon, Mountain Mowbray. I am back again, hopefully with less technical difficulties than we had last time. This time I am with Ian. Ian is your lovely Liberal Democrat candidate who is aiming to get as many of your votes as possible on Thursday. So thank you, Ian, for taking the time out of what I imagine is a very busy campaign trail to come and have a chat with me today about what you plan to do.
Okay, no problem. Good to see you.
Okay, so without further ado, I will get started. So as for those of you that missed my early stream, all of the candidates start with some general questions. These are the same questions that all the Police Crime Commissioner candidates received, and these are the ones that these guys got prepped in advance. So firstly, the role of the Police Crime Commissioner is to ensure that the policing force is being run properly, quote unquote. So in your mind, what do you define as properly, and what does that look like?
Right. Well, I mean, the Police and Crime Commissioner is a role that actually the Liberal Democrats don't support. We think it's a waste of money, to be honest. It's the idea of it is that it's, if you like, a bridge between the public and the police force. And the original idea was it gave political accountability to the police, because the police and crime commissioner spends £250 million, £250 million a year, so it's an awful lot of money. But unfortunately, it's not a role that anybody asked for, and very few people are actually interested in. The percentage or the number of people who vote in the police and crime commissioner elections are very low, about less than 30%. Now, all the time that role exists, I believe it needs to be done by to the best of anybody's ability, and I believe I have the skills to do the job well. But you have to remember that it costs £5 million a year to run the Police and Crime Commissioner's office in Leicester. £5 million, and this year the police were set a budget by the Police and Crime Commissioner requiring them to cut £5 million from their budget. Now, most of the cost of the police are people, because by definition. And so there will be big reductions in the people supporting our police service. Now, they're mainly going to come from the civilian support staff. And people might say, oh, they're only overhead. Those people, there's 200 of them man the phones. So you've got a 24/7 phone service. There's forensic scientists, there's IT specialists, there's people who repair the cars, there's people who prepare the cases to go to the Crown Prosecution Service. So to take potentially more than 100 people out of the police service for a sum that's equal to what the Police and Crime Commissioner's office costs, I think we've got everything back to front. You know, we need to spend that money on our police service, not on overhead.
So, but then so if you were elected, would you not have that office anymore to cut down that 5 million? Would you take a pay cut compared to the current salary? Like, how would you, if you were elected, cut down this quantity of money?
Absolutely. Well, obviously for me, I can't abolish the role, because that's requires a law through Parliament to do that. But yeah, I would go through all of the costs and all the overheads and all the expenditure that's undertaken by the Police and Crime Commissioner to ensure that as much as possible is rediverted to the police force. I think it's important that you know that, I mean, the current Police and Crime Commissioner, who is of course hoping to be re-elected, plans to spend thousands on police telephone boxes like Doctor Who's got. I mean, it's in his manifesto. You'll see pictures of him on Facebook, proudly stood in front of it. He wants to put Victorian lights outside the police station. God knows why, but he does. Now, you need somebody. I'm an accountant by trade. I'm very, very focused on where money is spent. We need to get rid of stupid pet projects like that, divert the resources to the frontline policing so we can get the community and neighbourhood policing that we need to deal with antisocial behaviour, shoplifting, burglary, etc.
Okay. I mean, the telephone boxes is a first to me. I must admit, I've not seen the. I've been looking at the socials for all of socials for a lot of you, and I've not seen the Doctor Who
Well,
telephone boxes yet.
I promise you, I'll send it to you. It is all over Facebook, but yeah, it's in his manifesto. There's a picture of him putting up a Victorian retro light outside a police station, as if 2-foot high letters saying police isn't a big enough clue it's a police station. But then he's also, yeah, in his manifesto, in terms, it says, I'm bringing back the TARDIS to Leicestershire. Well, you know, it's beyond a joke, I'm afraid, Kelly.
I mean,
You know, honestly, the first time I heard it, my agent told me, and I mean, I just had hysterics. And I said, come on, Stuart, stop being silly. We've got work to do. No, it's true. And he sent me the picture. And I thought, you know, this is just madness. All the time we're looking at a situation where the chief constable will be having to lay off civilian staff and maybe even police staff to even contemplate we'd spend money raiding the BBC set department for whatever printed.
I mean, we do have Comic Con happening on Saturday. To be fair, Ian, like
So
in his defence, we have got Comic Con coming up on Saturday.
yeah, well, absolutely, yeah. Well, you know, if you want to cosplay being part of Doctor Who or whatever, you know, there's going to be plenty of opportunities. You know, I mean, I don't even. I mean, those police boxes were scrapped 60 years ago. I mean, you know, one of the things he says is if you want to call the police, you can go to one of these police boxes. Well, you know, I don't know if it's yeah. I mean, you know, I bought my wife a mobile phone in about 1988. I think. You know, they've been around a week or two. It's about time he caught up and found that, realised we've moved on a bit.
But maybe his argument is that, you know, not everybody has access to smartphones nowadays, so maybe the TARDIS might allow people to contact the police.
Well, let's just hope that whenever anybody needs a policeman or police officer rather, they don't have to go trekking around the town looking for a TARDIS. I mean, I personally think that if you don't have a phone, you've left it at home or your battery's flat. If you need to ring the police, I'm sure you could tap somebody on the shoulder and say, "Could you please ring the police for me because somebody's just, you know, done something awful. So he just robbed a bank." You know, I'm sure you'd not have difficulty getting hold of a police officer if you needed to. So, yeah. So I'm afraid that's why I'm a bit of a serious candidate, really, because, you know, it's all about resources. It's about making sure we support our police officers and their civilian colleagues to deliver the service we need. And, you know, we can say all we like about, you know, having extra resources here, there, and everywhere. We won't unless we cut costs and stop stupid projects, pet projects. You know.
I mean, I'm not going to be able to get the Doctor Who theme out of my head now. Thanks, Ian.
I'll send you the picture. You might see me go on, while we're talking. I'll go on my WhatsApp, and I'll forward you the picture to the pictures on WhatsApp. You see, so I'll send it to you. There's thousands of them. Keep talking. I'm sorry. I'm listening. I'm just.
I mean, I get it. I get it. Like the TARDIS is a big deal. I completely understand. The TARDIS just got. I'm sorry.
I know it's beyond. I know. I was like you, Kelly. I mean, I was in tears to start with. I mean, tears of laughter to start with, and then just tears of frustration and annoyance. it probably won't work. You probably can't see that.
Rupert, May, if you're seeing,
Can you see that?
um,
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Rupert, if you're seeing this, I know I've been trying to email you about a time, same as I have with all the candidates. If you could possibly get back to me with a time this week to have a chat like this one, because you were supposed to have yours the other day, but for whatever reason it didn't happen. So, Rupert,
Kelly,
if you are seeing this, can you possibly book in? I want to hear your side of what we're going to call TARDIS Gate here on my mail.
Kelly, arrange it for last Wednesday. You can go in the TARDIS and go and do it last Wednesday. Oh, sorry, I can't help myself. I should know
I
better.
feel, Ian, you and I are going to get on swimmingly in this interview.
Bless you. Well, I'm just going to try and. There you go, my Melton. Yeah, okay. It's on its way.
It's on its way, right?
It's just past 6 Hills. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to, if you've got your Facebook, well, I've sent it to you on Messenger. So
right, you messaged me the TARDIS.
It's his Facebook advert. Yeah, you should be able to see it. Yeah.
Okay, I can confirm. People in Mountain Mowbray, I can confirm from looking at the message that there is in fact a post of Mr. Matthews stood outside of a TARDIS. He is, in my mountain we always double check these things. We always fact check. There is in fact a post of him stood in front of an old-fashioned police box.
And in the meantime, he wants to cut 100 employees from Leicestershire and Rutland's police force. So I mean, you start off laughing because it's ridiculous. Then you start off laughing mixed with tears to think we could be in such a ridiculous situation. But anyway, there we go.
Right. On that note, should we ask the next question, Ian, before I
start go on then.
looking for an army of Daleks down my doorstep?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What's my policy on Cybermen? Is that what you're going to say?
We'll get back to that one with the manifesto questions.
Thank you. Okay.
So, as it stands, do you feel that Leicestershire and Rutland police are meeting the needs of the community?
Well, I mean, the Chief Constable and the staff from the PCC's office held a briefing last week, and I was the only political candidate to turn up. The Greens didn't go, Labour didn't go. I suppose the Tory is already the PCC, so why would he go? But I was very impressed with the work and effort and plans they've got to try and engage with the community, to try and be responsive. But I think it's fair to say that, when 21% of burglaries in Leicestershire, Leicester and Rutland, 21% of burglaries the police didn't even turn out to. Now, that's not because they're bad people. It's because years and years of cuts. I mean, we've still got 100 less police than we had 14 years ago, when the population has gone up by 10%. The police are stretched very thinly. So I'm sure that there are many people in our community who are not happy. I mean, my wife had a purse stolen, and it had got her mom's pension in it. She draws her mom's pension out for her, and it had got, with money my wife had got in her purse, there's £300 taken, and she had a phone call and given a crime number, and that was that. So there wasn't any attempt to even catch the perpetrators. So obviously we are not receiving the service we desire, but that in no way reflects badly on the police force, either the sworn officers, the police officers, or the civilian staff. They just simply don't have the resources to deliver the service we need.
Right. So let's, if you're talking about the police and the resources, let's take a question from our audience. So Ruth Davis asks, if you are elected, will we see more police on the streets?
Right. Well, there's certainly, I mean, at the moment, because I'm not going to give a load of waffle, because at the moment we're in serious danger of seeing less police on the street, because those £5 million worth of cuts, which will take out civilian staff, but the police are going to redeploy police officers into civilian jobs. So at the moment, we'll see less police on the streets. Now, I can promise that in the short term, I shall cut costs wherever I can to ensure we have as many police as we can. But the bigger battle is to fight the very unfair funding model that Leicester, Leicestershire, and Rutland has. We are one of the lowest funded police forces in the country. We would get at least £8 million more a year if we had fair funding. So the longer term battle is to go to war with whichever government it is, to say, give us the resources we need to ensure we have the police force our community needs. And you might well ask, well, why isn't anybody doing that now? Well, sadly, we've got a Conservative government, a Conservative PCC, and certainly outside Leicester, virtually all the MPs are Conservatives. Now, they can tell their constituency, oh, I've taken this up with the Chancellor, or I've taken it up with the Home Office. They're not going to rock the boat. They're not going to be in the streets screaming, where's the money? I don't know if you've heard them, Kelly. I've never heard a whisper of any of them fighting for our fair funding. And that's what I would do, because that's the only way we're going to actually get more police.
I will kind of jump. So I know there have been things that our MP in Melton and Rutland, who is now going to be a candidate in Rutland and Stamford, where she has fought on issues specifically within the LGBTQ plus community that one could argue would be rocking the boat within her own party. So I will kind of jump to her defense a little bit, because I
don't know that that's necessarily rocking the boat, is it? I mean, the reality is that, I forget how many Tory MPs there are. It's at least 10, I think. They might say, "Oh, I've written to the Home Office." Well, we need people screaming in the street saying, "You're causing the crime in our community to be higher than it should be because you won't fund us." And I think, the reality is that the next election, although there'll be a lot more Lib Dem MPs, it's highly unlikely it will be a Lib Dem government. So if I was elected PCC, I can go and upset as many people as I like. Because I mean, if you're a Tory MP or even a Tory PCC, the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister has many tools to buy your allegiance, a knighthood, a ministerial role. Politicians don't want to upset their government. I don't care. I'll upset anybody.
I was about to say, you're very much giving the I'm waking up and choosing chaos energy in this interview, Ian, and I am here for the energy.
I wouldn't say chaos. I think, if there's a battle to be had, I'll have it, and nobody's going to offer me a knighthood. Nobody's going to offer me a place in the Lords. Nobody's going to offer me a cosy Labour or Tory seat to stand in. So I don't care. I shall fight for what I believe to be right. And I think we need, where's the money? You probably don't remember Bob Geldof when he used to thump the table and say, where's the money? But I feel like that, because it really matters to people's lives. It makes a difference. 21% of burglaries weren't even attended by the police. No. 78% of burglaries went unsolved in Leicestershire. And the only way to deal with that is more resources.
Yeah. So let's go into our next question then, which kind of ties into a little bit of what you're saying in regards to the 21% burglaries.
Yeah.
Where upon researching, I came across a website called More in Common, who said that in their sample that they asked, less than half of people trust the police as a whole, and only 1 in 10 of them trust the police a great deal. So if you were elected, how would you plan to build that trust back up?
Well, I'll go back to what I said at the start, really, that the idea of the role of the PCC is to be a bridge between the community and the police force, in a way to be the voice of the community. So, we're blessed. I think it's fair to say, I think it's right to say we're blessed that in Leicester, Leicestershire, and Rutland, we've got a hugely diverse community. And the only way that a PCC can fulfil their role properly is to get out and meet the people, understand what their concerns are, um, and use that to set the priorities for the police. Now, I know the police, well, in the presentation they gave us, they are desperately trying to do that, but I believe that it's crucial that we deliver the service that's required, because you're never going to have happy people if you've got 78% of burglaries unsolved. You're
Yeah.
never going to have happy people if there's antisocial behaviour in the street. You're never going to have happy people when people are nervous walking through a town or city centre after 7 o'clock at night. And that's down to resources. But it's also down to the PCC to actively engage. And I'm a gregarious person. I love meeting people. So, I mean, for me, that would be a major upside to get out there, meet the people, find out what their concerns are, and address those as best we can. We're never going to be able to do everything, but it's important we deliver what the people want. And you only know that when you ask them.
1000% agree. So let's jump on a little bit. In fact, let's do the last general question first. So obviously, the election is on Thursday. Why is it important that people in the borough cast their vote on Thursday?
But there's two things really. The PCC sets the police budget and manages the police budget. I mean, he signs off the large items of expenditure. So there's £250 million in round terms spent by the PCC. So it's vital. That's your money. That's your money that's being spent. So it's vital that you elect somebody to do that role properly. And also, I've lost you, Kelly. You're still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, and the money is spent in the right places, and let's not go back to the TARDIS, but do you really want the vote for somebody who's going to allow 100+ jobs to go from the police force and then spend the money on cosplaying Doctor Who? I know it is hilarious, really, but it's not. I mean,
no, it's not funny that it's taken away from other jobs. It's just the idea of it being cosplaying Doctor Who that makes me laugh. But no, the idea that jobs could be lost for that, I can understand why that is not funny at all.
No, but it is. I mean, I can understand why you're laughing, because it's just beyond ridicule, isn't it? Really. I mean, what's next? Probably get all the police cars kitted out of steampunk cars or something. I don't know.
I mean, we do have a few steampunk people at the monthly vintage markets that happen in town. So
fantastic.
To be fair, they could fit in quite nicely there.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't give them any ideas.
Right, but so you mentioned a lot about the we've gone through TARDIS Gate, and specifically the part that you're saying that the current PCC is wasting money, and following that, you said that you're going to put more money into frontline policing and crime prevention measures.
Yeah.
So what do those, in your mind, if you're elected, what do those look like?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, frontline policing is protecting and, where possible, extending the number, increasing the number of police. But at the moment, it's about protecting the number of police. And also, there's some really good work. To be fair, I mean, the police are already doing some really good work on the whole story. I think it's just maybe just worth dwelling on this a little if we can. The responsibility of the Police and Crime Commissioner goes right from crime prevention, and some of that crime prevention work they're doing, which I think more needs to be done on, is unfortunately addressing other social challenges. I mean, the level of attendance at school is much lower post-COVID than it was pre-COVID. There's a high level of pupil absenteeism. There's also a higher level of expulsions. So even right back at the start, the kids who don't go to school are not all at home playing on their Xbox,
No.
and a lot, they are unfortunately misbehaving. But the kids who are expelled or excluded, as we say now, they have a high probability of ending up as criminals, sadly, because the provision, if you're excluded from a school, the availability of alternative provision, as it's called, is poor.
No.
So,
Shocking
so
as
we,
someone who used to work.
so, sorry?
As someone who used to work in a school which would have multiple students that had been excluded from other schools, I completely know of first-hand experience that alternative provision is few and hard to come by.
Well, 6 months wait for 2 days a week if you're lucky. And so right at the front end, it's about intelligence driven, data driven, a lot of it. So knowing where the issues are, knowing where the problems are. So in terms of crime prevention, dealing with it right at the front end, trying to get work with social workers and others to try and address attendance, and also arguing for improved alternative provision for kids excluded from school. But certainly the point is that by the time they're excluded, you've almost lost the battle already. So you've got to do the work up front.
Yeah.
There's a lot of data driven work, as I say. So, like in violence reduction, there's a lot of good work being done on data mapping where the issues are going to be, where the troubles are, what time they are, geographically where they are, what provokes the trouble, pubs chucking out, nightclubs chucking out, or whatever. So a lot of proactive data-driven work, and that's something I'm really interested in. I think that's something again that where we can, we need to put more resources in, and working with the voluntary sector also has a very important role to play in dealing with people who who've got challenged lives and challenging lives. So working with volunteers to see how we can, there we go, can you please sort out the, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. And as Ruth has just said, can you sort these teenagers causing criminal damage? Absolutely. And this is a bit of what I was saying about if they're in school, they're not causing trouble, but also we need more community and neighbourhood policing so that they can either respond to those issues or be present in trouble in areas where there's going to be trouble to try and stop it in the first place.
And I think personally, as someone who sat on our local steering groups for the antisocial behaviour in teens and tweens in Melton, I can say also that support and provision needs to be outside of the school environment as well as inside it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what sort of things would you look at having if you were elected for the outside of
Well, I mean,
like evenings, holidays, weekends, etc.?
Yeah, a friend of mine runs a very large shopping centre near Leicester, and I do know, in fairness to Rupert, I mean, this he provided funds to support a youth club, which this shopping centre set up and the shopping centre funded quite a lot of it because it was in order to stop antisocial behaviour in their shopping centre, which I think is a really interesting idea. You know, the government's starved the county council of funds, so a lot of the youth services don't exist anymore. So,
Yeah.
you know, and don't be surprised if kids are wandering the streets because there's nothing else to do, that they get up to no good, you know.
Yeah.
So there is the opportunity for the PCC to work with external partners to fund initiatives like that, but also to work with the county council to try and lobby them and try and encourage them to do more in the youth service sector. But the problem they have is they're also very underfunded. So it's not just about number of police. We've got, in fact, broken Britain, haven't we? We know nothing works anymore because
Yeah.
everything's starved of money. And the police, unfortunately, end up at the sticky end of it, don't they? You know, like the NHS. You know, when other services fail, the NHS and the police are the ones who have to pick up the mess afterwards, you know.
Which leads into my next question. So prior to this Q&A, I did a bit more Googling, and Police UK said that at the end of 2023, crime in Melton was higher compared to other similar areas of a similar sizing in the UK. Is this a surprise to you based on like the data maps and the things that you've been looking at?
Well, no, it isn't because, again, you know, we've talked about the issue with schools, and yes, schools are seeing a lot much higher persistent absenteeism and even severe absenteeism, where some kids don't even go to school half the time. And so, I mean, that is particularly a post-COVID thing. So that is going to drive a lot of antisocial behaviour, a lot of petty crime. I mean, no crime's petty if you're the unfortunate person to be the victim. But now, as for Melton itself, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can understand nationally why it's worse. I can't honestly say why Melton's. From when I'm there, it always seems such a nice quiet town. But clearly, I do know from Jim Adcock, our Lib Dem councillor, that there has been a major increase in petty crime and antisocial behaviour.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the graphing is coming from, things like burglary, drugs.
Yeah, and of course, county line. I mean, I don't know, but county lines is a big issue in rural towns, and I don't know to what extent that's an issue in Melton. I'm afraid I don't know that.
As I was saying to someone when we were discussing drugs earlier, it's one of those ones I feel that if you know where to get it, you can get it. But on the flip side of that, it's not, the drug dealers aren't walking around with giant signs on a Tuesday market going by your speed here. It's kind of one of those ones. I'm actually scheduling a chat with somebody called Chris, who is going to talk about safety in the after dark scene, and that's going to be something that we discuss in a little bit more detail.
Great, thanks. I look forward to seeing that. Yeah, and one thing perhaps I didn't touch on is that the complexity of crime is increasing because I mean, certain traditional crimes, if you like, have dropped because criminals have gone online. And as you say, I mean, I'm sure there are still not as I've ever looked for a drug dealer, nor have any interest in finding one. But I mean, the days of people standing in shop doorways and handing stuff out, I guess, have probably been replaced by WhatsApp groups and similar.
Yeah, yeah, and it was and this is the thing with, and I feel like a lot of people kind of need to be aware now of like the power of social media and that as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's talk a little bit more about you as the person now. So not you as the police crime commissioner, just normal day to day Ian. You know, let's get to know the man in front of the yellow, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, what is your favourite thing about Melton Mowbray?
Well, Melton Mowbray's, I love Melton Mowbray. I'm there quite a lot because, as I say, we managed to get the first Lib Dem councillor elected in 20 years, I think. So I spend a lot of time campaigning in Melton and walking around Melton. And, you know, it's an obvious cliche, but it's clearly true that we all know it's the food capital of Britain. And, you know, so, and yeah, I like it's a quaint place. I love the food. I love the cheese particularly. The one thing I don't love is the traffic. My caravan is stored in Melton, so every time I go anywhere, I normally end up going through the middle of Melton. And I'm pleased they're finally getting on with the bypass. Though I think there's still doubt about the southern leg, isn't there? They still haven't.
Yeah, so there's something about Leicester Road, and that because of county council funding, that being a bit up in the air. But now there's going to be a pot of money for transport because of the Tories scrapping HS2. So what they're hoping is that we get a successful bid out of that in order to fill that particular void, so to speak.
Absolutely, and I mean it's. I think I know we're here to talk about PCC, but I do think that Leicestershire have really stabbed Melton in the back because I mean they've agreed to all that new housing in order to fund the bypass, and now they've got the new housing and they haven't got the bypass. There's a part of a bypass going to be there, but I think that missing leg is a fairly significant leg, and so. For my own peace of mind, when I turn my caravan, I hope it gets sorted quickly.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
So, what are your top 3 favourite songs?
Right. Well, that's difficult because it changes from day to day. I don't find I listen to as much music as I used to do. I used to really love music. So it'll be something by Bruce Springsteen. And it, as I say, it changes from day to day because, as you might know, with Bruce, most of his stuff is on a scale of miserable to very miserable. So there's something. It'll be a piece of Northern Soul because I'm of that era and I love Northern Soul. So "Do I Love You Indeed I Do" by Frank Wilson probably, and occasionally I do listen to a bit of opera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, Un bel di Vedremo from Madame Butterfly by Puccini.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I do have a widespread. I have to say, there's not very much modern that I listen to. I'm sure a lot of it's excellent, but I don't tend to listen to it. I did have the misfortune of hearing Harry Styles' "Watermelon Sugar High," and I thought, this is a joke. Surely
it's not his best one.
Well, all he sings is one line. You think, goodness me.
It's okay, but it's not his best one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not averse to a bit of Taylor Swift. She sings good, and Adele. When apart from that last album, which was unlistenable, but I'm a big Adele fan. I think. Yeah.
Okay, so you find out tomorrow that you're going off to the pearly gates, and that tonight is your last meal. What's it going to be?
That's a good question. Well, what I'd do, I'd cheat. You see. I would go to Feast India and go on one of their all-you-can-eat buffets. So I'd probably be carried off by severe indigestion, I think. So I'd just hoover up everything that's on offer at Feast India.
See, is that cheating or is that modern problems, modern solutions? Because I would say it's the latter.
It's innovation. There we go. How's that? You'll get points for that.
I personally would say it's modern problems, modern solutions, personally. So, do you have any pets?
Yeah. I've got a cat who's 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Bob. She's a girl, but she's called Bob, named after the character from Blackadder, if you might remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then so I mean, at the other end of the scale, I've got a loopy 2-year-old Labrador
What
called
colour
Mabel.
lab?
Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah, she's a black lab, and
Oh,
yeah, she's very, very attractive. I mean, people have stopped me in the street and go, "I hate dogs, but that's a beautiful dog." You know, she is, but sadly not well gifted in the intelligence department.
no, we used to have a black one, and we now have a red fox one.
Oh, lovely! Yeah,
Um,
smashing.
I would say he's not the most gifted, but when we went out on Friday, he managed to knock the gate, open the kitchen, go into the cupboard, take out the whole container of tarts,
Good God!
scoff, go into the living room, close the gate behind him, and then proceed to scoff said tarts.
Good grief! That was
So
a smart dog.
maybe put some food in front of her and see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, she's
Because
whining in the kitchen now, actually.
if
But
she's anything like my Charlie, she'll come from Mensa to get some extra
oh
food.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't know when they're full, do they? And they're never.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, what makes you qualified for this role?
Well, I mean, my profession is I'm an accountant, but I also used to run businesses right up to the 250 million pound scale. So I know what it takes to run a large organisation, and also how to mind the money. You know, so I do actually have experience in working and running organisations of this size, and that's what. Yeah, I have a passion for delivering for the community. That's what I want to do, and that's what I think needs doing, and I think I can do it.
Okay. Oh, Ruth has just put in another question. Thank you, Ruth. I'll just put it on there now. She says, if you're elected, where's it gone? If you're elected, um, how would you make people that report a crime feel like an actual person and not a criminal?
Wow. I mean, Leicestershire Police have a thing called the Police Pledge, where they promise to treat victims fairly and well. So if that isn't the case, I mean, my role as PCC is to hold the chief constable to account, and I'd hold. I mean, I'd be very concerned if that's the experience that people have, and that's something I'd definitely raise with the chief constable. And
Brilliant.
what hold him to account over? I mean, more than just raise it. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
possible.
No, and that sounds like a really good answer. And I don't know about you guys that are watching this, but I think, Ian, this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation
Thank
that you
you.
and I have had this afternoon.
Bless you. Thank you.
So if you guys have liked what Ian has had to say this chat, then you can vote for Ian on Thursday between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. at your local polling station. Just make sure to bring your photographic ID with you, so passport, driver's license, etc. And other than that, good luck, Ian.
Thank you.
You know, fingers crossed it's the result that you would like at the end of the day, but we'll find out after voting day.
Lovely. Thank you. Thanks
So
very much, Kelly. It's been very great fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. So it's been goodbye from me, goodbye from Ian,
Goodbye.
and now I'm going to go and watch some Dalek videos. Good
Excellent.
afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.